来弄，你这个先塞来。
好。
Okay. What's the first question about what?
Where should I look?
You just
Okay. Look at you. Okay.
Look at me. And what are the daily work of the shop? Your daily work. If someone want to apply to you, how will you help him, or she, or her?
Usually we workers, they will ask by messenger. So I always use my phone to communicate with them, and very few cases that they want to meet us, because sometimes the cases are very far, like maybe Hualien, Penghu, Kaohsiung. So it's very far, so it's so hard to see each other face to face. So I use my phone messenger to always communicate with them. Yeah.
Okay, then do you call 1955?
Not really.
Not really.
Yeah, we file the case through. We use email to file the case. Sometimes I instructed the workers to call 1955 first. Sometimes. Yeah.
And how they come here? How they can come here?
We coordinate. If we file the case through 1955, then we have to wait for the action of the labor office, and then after that, because we have a very detailed statement, so it's already one of the requests of the worker to be sheltered here. So we will communicate with the labor officer that the worker wants to come here, so they can come here directly. Usually it's like that.
Okay, and how do you think of 1955? Is it 1955 is helpful to migrant workers? Do you think?
Not. Some cases they can really help, but there are also some cases that they are not really very good on answering some question of the worker, like because they don't know the process of the. I think they don't have that really training for the the laws of Taiwan and other policies. So every time the worker asks the 1955 about their cases, so sometimes they gave some wrong information. So yeah, I think they are not really trained.
And do you think letting students teach migrant workers Chinese has any effect? How do you think they teach Chinese, Mandarin?
I think there's some effect if migrants can really know how to speak in Chinese. Like me, my Chongmun is very Hanlan. So if some student they can come here and they can teach the guests to teach them Chinese, then that will be very, very great, because now we don't have really Chinese class, not like before, because we don't have time also. And yeah.
And you have an national home-based workers union, right?
Yeah.
And why do you think? Why do you want to organize the union?
I really want to organize the union because in the rights of the domestic worker here are not really the same with those who are covered with Labor Standard Act. So and actually it's very hard for them to meet. It's hard to meet them. So usually some of our members, it's so hard to see each other and have meetings with them. And so I I encourage those caretakers to join the union, because so we can also fight for their own rights. And yeah, we're hoping that they will have some rights as the same as the other workers.
Okay, then what did the union do in this year? Yeah.
For now, we don't really have some activities, just not like before, because of the COVID-19. So it's so hard to have some big event because of the pandemic. So I'm also afraid that some of our members they cannot go out. And on December we will have IMD. We will celebrate the International Migrants Day, and it's also the General Assembly of our union on December 20. So that's the only event we have.
And about the marriage with your husband, and why did you decide to marry Lennon?
I decided,
or he decided, or you
he proposed, and then I accepted. Because I love him. So even he's very hentaoyan. Joke.
Why are you saying he's now you feel he's hentaoyan?
Yeah, I accepted his proposal because I don't want a longer courtship. I don't believe it. I don't believe with longer courtship. So when he proposed, then I accepted. And at that time I work as a caretaker, so he told me that I can more help the workers if I work in the shelter. So yeah, that's how I end up in this.
We know. And what the procedure did you go through when you get married?
It's very hard because there's a lot of process you have to undergo, and I have to go back to my country. I cannot just get married here because Philippines is one of the country that Taiwan blocked to marry in Taiwan. So I have to go back to my country first before I can come here as his wife. So one is the process. It's very long, and it's
in Philippines or in Taiwan.
In the Philippines.
For long. Philippines is long.
Philippines is long, and also Taiwan is long. Until now, we're already married for 5 years, so I still don't have the card.
ID card.
Yeah, ID card. So I'm still in the process. So I waited for 3 years for that to be qualified as to get the ID, but I just apply on the fourth year, and then I have to be home. I have to be a stateless person before I can apply for the ID. But the government said I can already apply for the passport, but it's very hamafan if you apply passport without the ID. So I just waited for my ID to be processed first before I will apply for another for the passport.
Why you can't get that? Don't you have the
ID? I have ARC.
Oh, you have ARC.
I have ARC, but I don't have the Taiwan ID yet.
And did you have interview for your marriage in Taiwan or in Philippines?
Philippines, in Taipei Economic and Cultural Office. It's like de facto office of Taiwan in the Philippines. So they interviewed us, and they asked me if I have some, I borrowed money and something like that.
How do you think of them, the interviews?
At first, I'm very nervous, but later on, because our relationship is genuine, so I don't need to worry that they will say that this marriage is fake. Yeah.
And what is your impression of Brandon's home? How do you think there? Because you live in his home, and you have life with them, live with them. Yeah. And how do you think of his family, home?
I mean, I don't. Only his mother. I'm not really. We're not really in good terms. But his father is very. Very kind, and his sister also kind. So only his mother. It's very hard to deal with. So yeah.
But does his father lost his mind?
No, not really.
Oh, he's awake. Awake.
What is awake?
I mean, he's awake.
Still strong?
Yeah, have strong mind.
It's really complicated, and it's so hard to answer.
Explain.
Yeah, to explain this question, because it's very. Sometimes his mother is really 很讨厌。不好意思。But he's already very old, so I just leave it. 不要管他，不要管他。
好 ，Okay, and can you explain? Can you explain what the negative reports the Mirror Media did in 2018? Do you know the report?
Yeah, yes.
Why this report was told?
At that time, because there are some workers that they have some dispute inside the shelter, and I was away at that time. I went to Hong Kong, and they have some dispute here. And
you
I think
went to Hong Kong, why?
For another project in Hong Kong. So at that time, they have some dispute here, and we're not here. So I cannot really supervise them. So those workers, they went to Meko to complain about what happened, and then until one of the former staff of Meko is really not really in good terms with us. So I think one of them they reported to Mirror magazine, right?
Mirror.
Yeah.
Mirror
so
Media.
yeah, but I think it's all bullshit.
What's the content of the report?
They interviewed our 3 workers, former guests. They interviewed our former guests here, but I mean that's their own thing, and I feel very depressed at that time, because when they stayed here for 2 years, 3 years, I'm I'm so kind to them, and yeah, I don't know why they become like that. They think that I'm so unfair, because they thought that I sided with the other guests, former guests. So they ask help from other people. So they think that I'm very unfair and didn't really listen to them and transferred them to other shelter. So yeah, so that's the that's the beginning of that what is that the news.
The reporter, the content, they said that we got $500 from the government when every guest come in. How do you explain this?
Yeah, that's one of their like question. I mean, they raise about that, but I said that not all the guests they can receive. I mean, not all the guests we can have the 500 subsidy from the government, but actually it should be the government who take care of them. Why NGO help on this kind of problem? If in the first place, if the government can really take care of the migrants, then there shouldn't be shelter. There shouldn't be, they don't need to give us 500. So I think it's all bullshit, because we gave them the 500 they are asking.
Okay, and
We explain to the worker where it goes, and not all of the workers they have subsidy from the government, and and actually these workers, they are Filipinos. They should ask help from our government, but of course our government doesn't help. So if there's no NGO to help them, then how can they survive in Taiwan?
And they said that I remember that they said the caretaker said that she was sex disturbed by his employer. Yeah, and but the employer was weak.
Yes.
Do you remember what they said, and how do you?
I remember the employer is what do you call that? There's a term I forgot already. He's disabled. He's disabled, but it doesn't mean that he cannot touch other people. And I do believe the statement of the worker because he won't run away. Because he ran away at that time when his employer tried to touch her. But yeah, I can also see that he's disabled, but his mind and also his hand is still okay. Only his leg is not. So you cannot really say that it's not true.
And the lunar, the sick guest has lunar.
Freddy?
Yeah.
Ferdy?
Have sick. Sorry, I forget the name.
Freddy, the one who died.
Yeah, this.
Tuberculosis. Say.
Do they report someone? She got this tuberculosis. Yes, but still live here. But they think she should go back to Philippines.
Even if the person is he's sick and actually it's still curable, it doesn't mean that we can deport him. If that person can still able I mean, to have some medication here, why not? Just help, right? And if you let that worker to go back to the Philippines, it seems that you want him to suffer, because the medication in the Philippines is it's not good, and it's very expensive. The medication there is only for rich people, but migrants, they are poor. So I think we also have if we have the capacity to help the worker with the tuberculosis, then why not just help? It's not illegal. That's in the magazine.
And how did she pay for the health insurance? Taiwan health insurance. I mean, Taiwan.
From my understanding about the tuberculosis, it's a free medication disease. So even they don't have the health insurance, as long as they have the book, yellow book or orange book, they can already have they treat themselves without the health card. But mostly the workers, if they are sick here, and we help them, SPA help to pay for the health insurance if they don't have any money to pay. Yeah.
So, and may I ask about the work you do when you just come to Taiwan? Because
Philippines.
From Philippines to Taiwan, you were a caretaker before, right?
Yeah, in Taiwan first.
Taiwan.
Yeah.
And how?
But before Taiwan.
In Taiwan.
In Taiwan.
In Taiwan, yeah.
Before SPA. I arrived here on 2010, and yeah, my aunt, his employer owned an agency in Taiwan, so he asked me if I want to work here, and I said yes, because the Philippines salary is very low. So
what did you do in Philippines when you?
I work as another NGO.
Oh.
Another NGO. So that NGO, they are focusing on mostly for the rights of the student, that they can choose whatever religion they want, like in the Muslim countries. So we organize those Catholic students to not to be ashamed, or not to be don't be afraid to choose whatever religion you want. It's most especially in the Muslim country, they are minority. So yeah, that's my former job. And when I decided to come and apply, I work as a caretaker, and I worked there for 4 years. So the same employer. And while I'm working, I voluntarily work in Migrante. It's a group of Filipinos that help our fellow Filipinos to fight for their own rights. So they have branch here in Taiwan. So one of my friends invited me to join, and that's the time I met one of the event. The president invited Lennon to be the speaker, and I helped Lennon to translate. So that's the time I met Lennon through Migrante International Taiwan chapter.
In Taiwan, and how is your caretaker, your work? You work in Taiwan in care. You were a caretaker.
Yeah, yes. Actually, it's illegal. So
How is this illegal?
I clean 2 houses. I go to the market. I help in the market and go to the hospital. So my work is just, I can clean 2 houses, go to the hospital to take care of my ward. And not my ward. It's the wife of my ward, the real patient. And then go to the market, help there. So my life is like that. So it's not that really easy, but just for my family, I want to earn a lot.
And did they have ama for you?
They have ama and akong.
Ama and akong.
Yes.
And only you.
Yeah, only me.
Only have you. And you take care of them and do other work.
Yes.
Including?
No, taan.
So you still have to go to
market, yeah, to help my employer.
And how long did you work for this?
4 years. 4 years.
And why you decide to go out?
Because at that time my migraine is already very severe. Cannot sleep properly because of the difficulty of my work. So I cannot sleep. So my migraine become so severe. So that's migraine. Headache, yeah, migraine. So I decided to stop, to resign. Thanks. Dami. Yeah.
So you decide to go out. Okay, then. Sorry, I forgot to ask about how did SPA respond to the negative report for Mirror Media? Do you remember?
Our director, he wrote a response and just posted on Facebook. That's what I remembered. The director will just points by points explain whatever they accuse us. So yeah, I think it's better to tell to counter also about the accuse of the magazine.
Okay, so and could you show me the negative? Could you show me the negative report? Do you remember?
No way. I don't have.
Let me.
Because it's already 2018. 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's already very long.